The rarest quality for anyone in journalism is bravery. It is bravery that lets you tell the truth these days, especially in an era of such misinformation and threatening to truth tellers. Andy Ngo is one of those truth tellers, and he tells the truth about one of the most horrific things happening in America right now, the domestic terrorism on our streets. Andy has been a victim of it himself, and he joins us now. Andy, thank you for being on the program.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Andy is a recent author of a book on Antifa and the editor-at-large at the Post-Millennial, Unmasked, Inside Antifa's Radical Plan to Destroy Democracy. Andy, you're seeing right now, it seems like a return to normal in the sense that Antifa is back on the streets, marching through our streets. I live in Washington, D.C. They marched right past my home just the other night, and it reminded me of this summer when it seemed as though the entire country was under domestic terrorism threat. Is this the new normal?
Yeah, what does it say about America that return to normal means return to political violence on the streets again? We've been having for months now, actually, militant left-wing groups associated with Antifa and BLM salivating at Derek Chauvin potentially not getting the murder conviction and a heavy sentence. But they had an early gift in that the death of Dante Wright near Minneapolis earlier this week has been exploited in a way that you can actually really map out that it was really planned. Immediately there was a story, there were activists who got together to put out this, what appears to be a lie, from what his mother was saying, that her son was killed because of an air freshener. However, what we know is that he was stopped for allegedly expired license plate tags, and that once they ran his name, he had a warrant for some pretty serious charges. Back in late 2019, Dante Wright is accused of repeatedly choking and trying to rob a woman at gunpoint. So he had a warrant for that. He had another warrant for a weapons charge, as well as previously escaping arrest. So all this to say is that the BLM don't pick good martyrs. They pick people who are terrible people to be made into idols. And I don't say that with pleasure or anything, but you see that the names that people remember are people like George Floyd or Dante Wright and others who have pretty extensive violent criminal histories, and they don't remember people who sacrifice either for the communities or their country. Those people are forgotten. All that to say, the violence that we've seen in the past 72 hours, I think this is just the beginning of it. It will likely continue to get worse as the weather gets warmer. And on top of that, we are days away from the trial concluding in Derek Chauvin. And from what I've seen, the evidence presented by the defense side looks pretty strong.
Andy, you yourself have been a victim of these radical movements. You are an Asian American. I heard very much about attacks against Asian Americans in the last month. This was all my entire feed, and these attacks are horrific. However, when you were attacked, and I saw it with my own two eyeballs, you were attacked viciously by Antifa. You were sent to the hospital with a brain hemorrhage. Yet the same people who are decrying violence against Asian Americans did not stand in your defense just a year or so ago when this happened to you, and you were nearly killed by these mobs. Why?
Because I don't hold the right views, and my story couldn't be exploited for a white supremacy narrative or to further critical race theory in one way or another in anti-white racism. The only reason why these left-wing activists in the media even started paying attention to interracial violence where Asian Americans are the victims is because they were using it to blame the Trump administration. And once it became impossible to ignore that the majority of perpetrators are just are black, they kind of moved on from it, and you're seeing that they're not talking about violence against Asian Americans very much anymore now.
Andy, that's all the time we have. And thank you so much for joining the show. You are one of the few brave journalists out there, one of the last few brave journalists out there. Please continue your work. We'll always support you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.